I suppose there's always going to be shock. We all think we're bulletproof, and when you're young, you wonder what all those old people are going on about. And they're shuffling around, looking ill. Just get on with it. But it's not until you get a bit older that life catches up with you. But once that settles in, I think for me, because I was diagnosed later in life, I'm fortunate in that it didn't derail my early life travels and adventures. So uh, I I definitely keep that as a positive, and I've got loads of pictures and memories and friends, and you really do rely on that you've made the most of what you had at the time, and yeah, something that this is a challenge, and you just need to work on it. So I think that's certainly my take, that focus on the good stuff, and we'll figure out tomorrow, if you like. I'm Colin from London in the UK. I've always been quite active, cycling and softball, and then I became really obsessed with skiing, which meant I moved over to the French Alps for my 30th birthday. And then I spent the next 7 years working and living around different countries in Europe. Moved back to the UK, met my wife, and then we emigrated to Australia, as that's where her family were. I was about 46 when I started having a few health issues, and then took me 6 years to find out what it was, and diagnosed at 52. So it was a complete fluke in the end. There was a family illness. I checked up on that, and it was all clear, but the radiologist was very diligent and picked something up, and that's how we managed to find it. So, and that's where we are. I'd been having, when I say started experiencing health issues, that was it was actually a visit to the emergency department at the local hospital, and it was just an unexplained issue. I spent a day there, and we did all the tests, and then I literally spent 6 years doctor shopping and talking to anybody I could around Perth to try and figure out what had gone wrong. And it due to my age, it was just deemed one of those things, and nobody could figure it out. And as I said, there was something happened in the UK, and it was suggested I tried a test, and it was quite funny. It was what do you call it? An angiogram for your heart. So I went along there, and they said, looked at the results and went, "No, you're fine. The results have come back, and everything's good." And I went, "Thanks." And I was just getting out of the chair, and he said, "But there's something on there which we don't like the look of, and we need to do some more testing." And another 9 months of testing, and yeah, we found out what it was, or somebody was actually decided to take a test, which was just highly unusual for somebody my age to take at that time. I'd had this test, and I'd had a note in the diary to pop back in for the results, and I'd made a note, no problem. And then the receptionist phoned me up and said, "Oh, just wanted to remind you of your appointment." And I went, "Oh, well, that's very nice. It's very diligent of you." And then the next day, the consultant phoned me up to remind me to go to the appointment. And I thought, that's a bit odd. You don't normally get consultants following up on their admin schedule. So yeah, I kind of guessed there was something coming. A bit nerve-wracking, but very nice guy, and he was the one that figured it out. So will always appreciate his insight and skill in figuring it all out. So for me, the changes I made, I'd set my alarm clock earlier in the morning, so that I could get up and do my airway clearance before I went to work. It didn't really affect me during the day, apart from taking tablets with food, and then just maybe change your evening routine. And I also, instead of getting the car or bus to work, I switched to cycling to work so that I would build cardio into my commute. And it's all about self-managing it. From my point of view, if I can self-manage it, I don't have to go to the hospital. So there's a huge carrot for me to keep on top of it. A lot of people I've talked to, they've had lung transplants, they've had, endless surgery. It can be horrific. So I actually had some positives. I've had blocked sinus all my life, and the first thing the consultant said to me was, "Oh, that's CF related. Go and get your sinuses cleared out," which means my breathing's improved and I sleep better. I By starting the nebulizer, I actually increased my lung function by about 15%, and digestion improved by taking the Creon um, enzymes. So there were some definite positives there. I'm sure as I get older, I do feel I do get tired and stuff, but in the scheme of things, I'm 57, pretty active, not doing too bad, I think. The diagnosis answered the questions. So why can't I have children? It's it actually There isn't a real medical reason. Up until that point, it had just been, oh, it's one of those things. There's a little bit of disappointment in there, I have to say. I've been to the GP. When we got married, we were going to have children as normal. I hadn't been diagnosed at that point. We tried to have kids, nothing happened. I went to the GP and went to a fertility clinic, and yeah, it was the issue was never raised. It was never suggested for any further investigation or any follow up, which I just found, looking back, it's a little bit frustrating because it's a very clear cut indicator for CF, and if I had found out 10 years before, that would have saved me all those years looking. And given that it's not 100%, that there are potentially ways that you can work around it with IVF, for example. So it could well have been a different outcome. Who knows? By the time I found out, it was all a bit too late. It's not the end of the world. And probably as you get on later in life, I'm looking after myself, let alone having to look after children. So maybe it's a good thing. Certainly with my family, as soon as I found out, I phoned up. They're all in the UK, and everyone was very supportive. And the fact that it wasn't, it's all going to end in a couple of months, that it's something that you can manage, and hopefully I can keep on top of it. Everyone was very supportive, and I suppose also because it's a genetic thing, I pass the word round, so other people in the family can be tested, and they then have the information that they need to make informed decisions in the future. So rather than somebody finding out unexpectedly again, maybe that's one way to a positive there, that other people get more information. So I didn't run around and tell everybody, but if anybody asks or it comes up, I'm quite open about it. It's one of those illnesses that we've kind of all heard of, but nobody really knows what it is. And once you explain to somebody some of the basics, then everyone seems fine. And it's an invisible illness, isn't it? You come across as quite normal, and most of the time people wouldn't notice. Maybe you cough a bit more than others, but nothing too much. When I first got diagnosed, I did speak to my work straight away because I wasn't sure about taking time off and things like that. Not a brilliant experience there. Personally, I wouldn't rush into telling work in the future unless I had to. Not everybody deals with it in the same way, and it's very much how you feel with your employer, and I don't think there's any need to unless you have to. So fortunately for me, being an accountant, you're at a desk. So if I'm having a bad day, you're feeling absolutely dreadful, you shuffle into work and you can keep your head down and get on with some work. Or, with COVID, we've been working from home. So you're not a builder that has to go onto a building site, or, you're not a heart surgeon dealing with somebody's life. So I'm fortunate in my profession that it has some flexibility. I mean, apart from a couple of weeks off when I had pneumonia, I've probably only had 3 or 4 days off sick in the last 4 or 5 years anyway. So I've managed to, I suppose the work environment, working at a desk and talking to a computer is quite conducive when you have for CF. The way it works at the hospital, they're fantastic. You have a team, and it's a multidisciplinary team, and your dietitian and physio and consultant, and there's an ongoing clinic, and you have regular appointments, and it just allows you to keep on top of things. And I think as an accountant, I keep lots of records, and it just means that if you ever have your appointments, you've got all the information that people need to help you make decisions. So working with the team at the hospital, absolutely fantastic. That works very well. CFWA, it's a not-for-profit, which is just down the road from the hospital. And once again, there's a lovely team of people there. And the wonderful thing about that is that they all know what CF is, and you don't have to sit there and explain it all again. So they're independent of the hospital, and they're always at the end of the phone if you want to chat about pretty much anything. And I try and get involved with them as much as I can. It's just a nice social network. My local community pharmacy, absolutely fantastic. They really are. The pharmacy is your friend. Some of the medication you have to historically go up to the hospital, and it takes me, half an hour to get there, and you might have to wait a couple of hours at the outpatient pharmacist for collecting medication. But I've managed to work with my local pharmacy, and I can walk over the road and pick everything up from there now. So I do my nebulizer in the morning and the evening to try and keep on top of the lung function, and it's dead time, and you kind of begrudge spending time on things. So I've tried to turn it round and make use of that time as a positive, so you can almost look forward to that time to get on with something. So I learn a language online. So I've set up my nebulizer that whilst I'm doing my nebulizer, I can do my lessons, and it's actually some protected time where you can get on with your hobbies. So it's not an exact science, but there are ways to try and find positives and turn things around, and because it's just this ongoing routine that has to be done, why not have some fun while you're doing it? The thing about CF is building a network of professionals, specialists, and friends, if you like. It's all about having a good team around you to manage it, and that's what CF is. It's about managing it. You never, well, who knows, we might cure it one day, but my experience is you manage it and get on with your life, basically.